good, Melissa?
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
That's cool. I'm going to give you a little more volume. You're so deserving.
Yes, I flew in from out of town, rolled from the airport straight to here.
This
There
is how
you go. That's
do,
how I start
man.
my weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 210. Along with Melissa and I'm Jason DeVilliers. We're going to talk a little bit about our nutrition mission, right? We had Phil Escott, multiple time guest, the usual suspect, getting into detail on the benefits of carnivorism and this and that. Tell everybody what you do.
Okay.
What do you do for a living?
So I'm a pharmacist, been a pharmacist for over 20 years. I'm not going to say where I work. And my disclaimer is that this is not meant to be medical advice.
Right.
Or does anything I say reflect the opinions of my employer.
Good.
Just clearing that out
Yeah.
first. But I am a pharmacist. I'm not really into patient care, but and they teach us about drugs, how to treat. There's barely anything about nutrition, and if there is, say if you're learning about high cholesterol, cardiovascular diseases, how you treat that, it's always you got to focus on the high LDL. If it's high, you're more at risk for a heart attack. There's an emphasis on that. Same thing with the drugs. A lot of them do target LDL. For example, Repatha dramatically reduces your LDL to 2 digits. If it's high, it's 3 digits depending on what your risk factors are. 130, 150. That's where the emphasis is.
Actually, smooth this camera. Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
Okay, so getting to the nutrition, we're not taught really anything.
Right.
And what we are, nutrition guidelines, which is low-fat diet, eat a lot of vegetables, eat your greens, stay away from red meat.
All right.
I think anyone just knows that or has been told that, right?
That's how we grew up.
Yeah.
I think I'd also like to reiterate that, as far as clinical analyses, right? Like, I know a lot of people are not comfortable talking about those things because, you're not a doctor and this and that, though. As far as these clinical studies and this and that, I don't even think the doctors qualify being doctors these days. And I'll just say that as a fun caveat. But with that being said, as far as statistical data and statistical analysis and interpretation of that, does not, in my opinion, require any medical training. It's you see something, you see a correlation, and no correlation is not causation. Is the reason why they do statistical studies, which I think anyone who's not lazy, it's such a bad word. Anyone who's not lazy, I'll just say that, just for argument's sake, if you just learn statistics, you can do this. You can learn quantitative reasoning. You can actually look at a study and see, all right, what are they not telling us? What are the variables? And a lot of studies are explicit with those variables, and some of them are just incompetent or maybe even have something to hide. Who knows? Who cares? So for me, this whole concept about are you a doctor? You're a doctor, is ridiculous because I think there's something. I'm an old school guy, and doing your own research is called reading.
Right.
So this is the conversation between some things that you're discussing that are within your wheelhouse, because you see how medications work and how nutrition works. But we're not gonna. I think the crux of our conversation is really just your journey. I really, really admire your journey, and I really love your story. And the reason why, even though this podcast didn't have this core purpose, it would be podcast malpractice for you to not share that.
Right.
Share that story,
Well, yeah, if we want to get into that is a story to tell, and I've told it to other people at some of these health conferences that I've gone to, how I've come to sit here with you. So again, I'm also a volleyball player, so that's how I know Jason's podcast, from volleyball. I am
Texas,
a volleyball.
Represent.
Yeah, I live in Houston, so I'm a volleyball, not just a volleyball fan in general. I don't have a lot of favorite players. I just like to follow the sport.
You're a purist, yeah.
Yeah, especially women's college indoor. That's my thing. But, I'm more recently getting into the sand. So, I found Jason's podcast one day, and I wanted to educate myself more about other volleyball people I didn't know. because I think there's a lot of cool people who have very interesting stories. So one day about 2 years ago, I saw Phil Escott podcast, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to find out about this volleyball player, Phil, who I have no idea about. Turns out it's not a volleyball podcast. It's about nutrition. So, Phil Escott is known as a carnivore. He's been doing this for 9 years, and he, you can go back to the previous episodes, but he reversed his rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis just by diet. And somehow that seemed to intrigue me enough. And there was another podcast that you did with Bart Kay, similar concepts, those two carnivores. So I got interested in it enough that I wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
So I told myself, let's do it for 2 months. I was actually going to combine it with not drinking alcohol for the same amount of time. I thought that would be a good pair to do. So I planned to do it. I didn't do it cold turkey because I like to, kind of plan these things. It's going to backfire on me if I just say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to go carnivore. And so within, I'd say 2 weeks, I just noticed a dramatic change in my mental clarity. I was a lot sharper. I was never tired.
The energy just shoots through the roof, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. And it has to do with some, how your brain, you're in ketosis essentially, right? And the kicker was 2 weeks in, I went to go play volleyball, and it was just fours, right? But, I was playing passing defense, and I noticed that things were a lot easier for me. So I have a coach, John Wilson, who had been trying to drill into me, quit passing midline, use the angles, pass on the side, right? Trying to unlearn that when you've been playing volleyball for a very long time is very hard to change. But all of a sudden I realized, why am I able to do this? And it just seems effortless. I'm like, it has to be something about the diet. I just have this focus that I'm doing it, right?
Yeah. And your story is very similar. Again, not speaking as doctors, but just speaking as human beings who recognize the symptoms of carnivorism, and some of the things that change in your life are very, I feel like you're echoing or parroting the sentiments of a lot of people who went through that experience, including Phil Escott, right? And I mean, if we're on the subject of volleyball, as a volleyball expert, I think I'd like to say there's really nothing wrong with midlining. There's nothing wrong with angle passing. It's just different, right? Karch is an angle passer. Hugh McCutcheon, I think, is a midliner, right? And I have a healthy mixture of both. If it's a free ball, it might be worth it to make 2 moves to the ball to midline it. Just keep it in front of you and push it forward. Hold at the end, because it's easier to hold when you're midline than when you angle. However, angle passing I also like because if your focus, let's say you're practicing or let's say you're in a game, your focus is to not make too many moves to the ball. You're trying to just get one move to the ball, this angular pursuit. Whether you're playing defense, facing the hitter, right? Or whether you're on serve receive, one move to the ball is energy efficient. One move to the ball, again, gives you angular integrity, and it works because midlining. A lot of coaches want to get rid of that because it goes against their philosophy of one move to the ball. Because midlining in the classic sense of the development requires at least 2 moves, right? Midline. There is no such thing as midlining in one move. So I just wanted to talk a little about a bit about the other, because you have the best of the best doing it your way. You have players that do it this way and another way. And for me, as an indoor and a beach coach, very much like positive reinforcement and tough love can coexist. To win a championship is very much the same, but yeah.
So I noticed that. I mean, I don't know the timeline of the other benefits, but there were many. So my skin cleared up. I used to have acne, not severely, but I would break out occasionally. Mm-hmm. I would have eczema on my hands that was difficult to treat. The only thing that would actually control it was acupuncture, surprising enough. But I also had like seborrheic dermatitis, where I'd have to use steroids on my scalp occasionally, but I would hate using them because steroids are just, they're super potent. They thin out your skin. I just want to avoid using those, but I would be itchy. Female issues.
Yeah.
You want to get into that? When I was young, I had heavy periods. It was miserable. It was like, 7 days. Now it's 2 days, 3 days. That's it. I mean,
it's like almost the G.I. Jane thing,
Yeah.
right? Remember Demi Moore, like the character, her cycles were shorter because of either the loss of body fat or whatever, and this and that, or it's such a terrible comparison, but like the net result, the end of the end of the journey kind of seemed the same, right? And I'm speaking like as a dumb male right now.
And on the other hand, like other people say, like I was vegan and I didn't have a period,
right?
And basically that means your body is not healthy enough to actually,
What was the name of Phil's book again? The rheumatoid arthritis book. It was called How Rheumatoid Arthritis Saved My Life, or something like that?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what it's called?
Yeah.
So for everyone listening on the podcast, basically there's a guy named Phil Escott. He was, his journey, a summation of his journey was he was 60 pounds overweight. He had joint stiffness. He had to walk with a cane, whatever. And when he was on a slew of medications to treat his rheumatoid arthritis. And when he went on a carnivore diet, this certain way of doing it.
And after going vegan and raw vegan, right?
Yeah,
so,
he was vegan for
like
what?
Better, so I'm just going to quit eating meat, right? I don't know how
That's
long.
what he
but
did.
That's the first thing he did. Yeah.
And the rheumatoid arthritis and the symptoms and the whole time it's weird because you think everything that you're taking is supposed to make you get better, right? And when you're not, somehow it's still your fault. Did I miss a pill? Did I miss a timing? Did I cheat on my vegan diet, right? Did all these things happen? So basically for the people listening, he went on his carnivore journey and the rheumatoid arthritis went away. And then when he saw his doctor, and his doctor, through all the testing, found out that it was basically gone, and he lost the weight, he lost the cane. So he went from using a cane to walk to like walking and now running, and he plays in a band too. So that being a drummer required, dude, being a drummer ain't no joke. Being a drummer, dude, try doing that all night, I'm telling you.
Yeah, my brother's a drummer.
Yeah, that requires stamina, even if you're sitting down, but... So basically what his doctor said that what he's doing right now is dangerous and he needs to go back on the slew of medications that he was taking. And then he got up, shook the doctor's hand and said thank you and walked out and never went back. And I think the funniest thing I heard him say was he asked the doctor, he says, have you ever seen something like this happen before? And the doctor said no. And he says, you're a doctor and you've never seen it. He says, dude, I played the drums and I've seen it 6 times.
Yeah, right.
It made me crack up. So if this sounds like a podcast where we're slamming veganism, I'll just say, yeah, you're right. That's what we're doing. Fine. I'll own that. I'll take that Pepsi challenge and our life experience we have.
And the word carnivore, I really don't like. I don't like that. It just has some negative connotations on it, right?
Yeah.
Other people have used proper human diet. And I like that.
Well,
like you're eating
Bart
what
Kay
you're meant
said
to eat.
species appropept. How about that? Yeah. Man, you want to talk about a reverse snob, right? You want to talk about a reverse snob? Like, let me tell you something. Bart Kay thinks being a vegan is an excuse to be a snob. But he's a reverse. He went and said species appropriate. Oh,
yeah, well, I will just stick with proper human diet. But so I noticed these benefits, and knowing you from your podcast, maybe I've been watching a year before, liked your content, some of the social issues you talked about, not volleyball. I was in agreement with. So, that's what led me to Phil and Bart.
Right.
Tried this carnivore diet for 2 months. I think it changed my life.
And again, you have zero acne right now.
And
your face is ridiculous. It's cool.
And I started breaking out when I was maybe 9 or 10, and when I was a teenager, I just had bad skin. But as an
My
adult,
jaw cracked from
no, but as an adult, you still get adult acne, and I was
Right.
on hormonal birth control, which controls it and suppresses the hormones. So, but you would still get those occasional breakouts here and there. I've been off hormone birth control for about a year, so now I can tell what my periods are like, and my skin is still good. And if I'm to eat like some sweets, I'll break out once. I'll get one
Right.
breakout, and you'll see it. Like that's why
Yeah,
it does it.
that's
So, like,
that's basically your body saying, okay, I'm going to eat this one time, but this is nonsense.
yeah, when
this
they
is
said,
some bull job right now.
when they
Yeah.
used to tell you chocolate causes acne, that's a myth. It's actually true, right?
Yes, yeah,
And chocolate's
Turns
my
out.
weakness too. So
yeah. I'm dark chocolate.
dark chocolate's good.
Yeah, it's a good aphrodisiac. It's good. It also serves as a good fat burner for people who don't like avocado. So, okay, we're on that nutrition mission, guys. If anyone looking for a top 10 fat burner, almost every study, and I'll pull one up now, says avocado is number one. But there are others. The turkey legs, cashews, eggs. Eggs is an excellent fat burner. In fact, I'm just going to look up just on a general thing like the top 10 fat burners. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no. So fat burners, so the dark chocolate is higher in oxalates than say milk chocolate. So that's something to be aware of. Also, if you wanted to go keto, like say for example, almonds,
Right.
those have higher oxalate content. So those you should not eat. And if you do have them, eat it in moderation, because
Right.
almond flour, you can substitute that a lot if you want to make something keto. That's some of the stuff that I've learned from
Look at
about
this.
2.5 years ago when I started this whole journey.
Nice. Yeah. And that I did not know about nuts. I just say
Certain nuts, but almonds is probably the highest. And then you just have to be careful if you don't want to get roasted ones, especially the type of oil that they use, which
Right.
goes into the other thing. Like carnivore is not just about eating meat. It's about what you don't eat, which is as important or even more important, which is, the sugars, sweets, the carbs, but also anything that contains oxalates, anything that's damaging to you,
Right.
the
All right,
nightshades, tomatoes, all that stuff. That's probably just as important.
Let's
So,
go through what they're saying. This is healthline.com. We'll call them they. Salmon, fat burner, never heard of that. MCT oil, I've heard of that. Coffee, eggs, I've definitely heard of on the list. Green tea, whey protein. What does that even mean?
some people are saying, some of the carnivores are saying that you just want to stay away from that too.
Yeah.
How they derive it, and I might be completely wrong, but half wrong. But you might not want that.
No. Greek fat yogurt? Stop it. Unplug this. What are we doing? Get out of here with this.
Come on, Google.
These
it,
are the
right?
people I'm supposed to get medical advice from? Really? Google fails, dude. Or a Safari search or whatever. That was terrible.
Google what's a proper human diet, what I should be doing. What is it going to tell you? Right?
Well, I think Phil Escott said it best. Do not blame the burger for the sins of the bun. I thought that was pretty hilarious. I don't know if you remember that episode.
Yeah,
It was
no,
pretty
I
cool.
remember that.
Yeah, so your journey was 2 months. As far as like seeing some of these results.
Yeah, I told myself I would do it for 2 months. I noticed a difference, definitely 2 to 3 weeks. And I decided to continue on with it after the 2 months. I saw enough benefits. Back then, I didn't know. This was, again, 2.5 years ago, so it was quite a while ago. I didn't know a lot of the why. Like, why is this doing this? Why am I getting these benefits? And then, you kind of do you have to do your research, right? So it's like, learn, listen to, Phil's podcast.
Bart,
Basically what I did with Phil and Bart's episodes that I watched, anyone that they name dropped, as a carnivore, I pulled them up. So they mentioned like Anthony Chafee, Bella,
Yeah,
Steak and
Chafee's a
Butter
big
Girl.
one, yeah.
Yeah, Chafee is my favorite. So
Yep.
you
Bart Kay, you have to like stomach and tolerate. Like
yeah.
if you want to be humored, and because this is his shtick, this is his gimmick. I mean, he can wear a suit and tie and do it all proper if you want to, just like the Brits, even though he's from New Zealand. But he made this arbitrary choice to wear a military helmet, right? Be the leader of the be the
Meat
leader of the
militia?
the
Yes.
meat militia, and then my favorite is Phil, because Phil is a kind human being, and he has a certain way of talking to you like a person. There is, of course, a twist of humor that comes with it that's not as brutal as Bart. But you need, just like Martin Luther King needed a Malcolm X, every film needs a Bart Kay.
Yeah, Bart I can take in small doses.
Because I don't know if you remember, like during the civil rights movement, right? Martin Luther King trying to do everything peacefully, marching across the bridge, getting beat up by the cops, getting arrested, you know what I'm saying? Getting hosed, getting whatever, tear gassed. Then you have someone like Malcolm X that comes along and saying, if you take a shot at me, I will shoot you. I will shoot back at you. And when he came along, what did everybody say? Why can't you be more like this guy? So I guess the point I'm trying to make, and that's an extreme example, you need a Bart Kay to appreciate.
Oh, of course.
To appreciate
yes.
a Phil Escott.
Yes. He's a brilliant guy, but yes, I can only watch him every so often when I'm want some entertainment.
Yeah, and I think people need to be really, really careful with disqualifying people who they feel are not medically trained to speak on certain subject matters, right? Like what happened the last 3 years, you can talk about COVID as a medicine or this or that, or as a disease, and what medicines you should take or not, but there was also something called the socioeconomic impact that it would have on us. There was also something called informed consent, because you trust the science and got screwed by scientists. So once human error starts going down to a point where you can trust the human person, medical professional practicing medicine, that's when I'll lean more towards, hey, that's my guy. I'm gonna have a little blind. He's a good faith actor, because that's the point I'm trying to make. I've never had a problem with people in the lab. I've only had a problem with good faith actors, right? And I don't know if you remember our American history. There was a time period where people were talking about the benefits of cigarettes, of smoking cigarettes and nicotine or whatever. And nicotine, some people talked about nicotine that still affect the effects of nicotine, right? So, right, we were told cigarettes were good for us or whatever for profit. So
yes.
that's not. So I think before anyone gets on a shtick about you're not a doctor, you're not a this, go back to the old school. Don't be so lazy. Do some research. Where's my camera? It's called reading. And what you don't know, sometimes you have to defer to the people that you trust, that you think do know. But the important thing for me, the American way, is informed consent. What you choose to do with your body, and the consequence of that should always be your choice. All right, guys, ignorance is not only bliss, it's constitutional.
We'll have to go to that cigarette thing later, but I do want to say it's literally common sense. And I think doctors are not taught to think that way. They're just shoved, here's your guidelines, here's some studies that prove that this is, let's say like you need low cholesterol, low LDL. That's just shoved down their throats for medical school, and it's always been like that. So they're not, don't want to say all of them, but not free thinkers.
Right.
Don't have a lot of common sense. I mean, Phil knows his stuff, right? And he's a drummer. You don't have to be a healthcare professional, doctor to be an expert in this field, as long as you do your research, right?
Right. I also would suggest that there are different kinds of doctors, right? You have your family doctor, write an RX, get a check, right? That they got loans to pay. They're trying to make their money. I get that, right? And in California, it was even more extreme because, when the state starts handing out mandates on what doctors are, the way doctors are allowed to practice and not allowed to practice, you're stuck between, this is my career. I got to just ride this out because I don't want to not be able to practice medicine, which some would consider cowardice. Phil Escott certainly would, but I think one's need to preserve one's life, or self-preservation is the essence of sanity, right? So even though it might not be a route that I would bravely go for or against, I understand. So there's that kind of doctor, right? Then you have the doctors that are millionaires but not billionaires, but they don't need billions. They decide, I'm good. I got millions. I'm good to go. I worked for a guy named Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld, world-renowned cardiologist, doctor of the stars. The most honest medical doctor I've ever met in my life. He's old. He's rich. He's going to say, what he feels based on his years and years of practicing medicine, combined with the incoming research. Right, he was one of the first MDs to write a guide to alternative medicine. That came out for everyone listening. Dr. Rosenfeld's Guide to Alternative Medicine. It came out in 1996. 1995. Doctor, What Should I Eat? Foods for prescriptions for ailments instead of medications. Big book. I lost 65 pounds reading that book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So power to the patient.
Food
this
medicine,
whole book
right?
about informed consent. So this is not a guy who cares about his career. That writes, if you're a medical doctor, these are not things that you write. No, you have that pharmaceutical rep from Pfizer come promoting Lipitor, promoting Norvasc, right? You write enough scripts, you know what I'm saying? You get to talk at our conference. We'll give you $100,000 stipend just to show up and, use your reputation to speak for us. Maybe be the spokesperson for that. Is that being a doctor? Is that practicing medicine? People, what are we talking about here? Is what I just told you, is that practicing medicine? Having a rep go to an office and propose for a doctor to be their spokesperson. You are incentivized to say positive things about a cholesterol lowering med instead of going on a diet to right? You have more of an incentive because they're paying you. That's not, listen to him or you're a doctor, shut up. That's not practicing medicine. That's not the American way.
Yeah, you're
Or
managing the symptoms for life. So
but not just that. They're doing so because they're incentivized.
Right, because if you tell
them
there's
no profit in the cure.
Right. If you tell them to eat a proper human diet, which will control your blood pressure, reverse your heart failure, which someone said that's what happened. He had low ejection fraction, went carnivore, and it went back up to normal levels. Like, sure, you've never
saved
seen
his
that.
Life.
Yeah. He literally said it saved his life. It cured his clinical depression. And this guy, so his name is Kerry Mann, and he has a YouTube channel called Homestead How.
Yes.
It was started as homesteading, but he did carnivore for over a year, and it dramatically changed his life. And now his mission is he's making a documentary, interviewing all the carnivores and trying to spread the word. And that's how, he's coined the term proper human diet. So I'm using it now. Yeah. But if you
still like species appropriate because I know it pisses people off.
But if you're a doctor and you tell patients this is what to do, they're not going to come back and see you. Then you're out of a business. It's just, and that's where some of the doctors Chafee, Baker,
McCulloch,
the ones who actually have the guts to speak out. Some will get threatened to take their medical license taken away, or hospitals I don't want you because you're not bringing us money.
I will say this, and I think we're far enough along for me to use the word conspiracy theory, right? All the symptoms of a conspiracy theorist, right? Prior to the accusation of being a conspiracy theorist, as far as this field is concerned, these people didn't have a reputation for being quacks. These people had a career, were beloved and respected in their field. So, but as soon as they say something that goes against the narrative, there's this ultimate reversal where they try to make people believe that they were never good. So
Yeah.
I'm always going to give someone floor time or listen time when they're only being accused of being wrong about this one thing and have been right about everything else their entire life, right? And in light of the fact that they don't even get, even if they're wrong, they don't get a pass for being wrong. They're just condemned for that, right? Like Peter McCulloch, right, is the most published cardiologist, as far as the journals are concerned. He's the most published cardiologist in history, period. No one's even close. Second place isn't even close. Respected in this field, cardiologist, right? Speaking about the right, from a cardiological perspective, he's qualified. In fact, he's the most qualified, right? But if he speaks against everybody else, they will make up reasons to snub him. And I'm sure he put his career on the line, right? He definitely put his career on the line amongst other professionals. And when I was on the podcast with Bart Kay, Twitter was littered with something I call Twitter scientist. Talking about how stupid everybody was. Just take this, it goes away, it stops with whatever, this and that. And I'm like, these are people that my friends are saying they have an MD, you don't listen to them. And they either just parroted the sentiments of the people that they respect or getting paid by, or they just lied, right? I mean, I'll just come out and say it, like, you trying to tell me something prevents transmission when the person that developed the product admitted under oath they never tested it. And then you're telling everybody else that it's been tested and tested and tested. That's a lie. That's a lie. So it's not about you should listen to this person because they have credentials next to the name. You should listen to that person because they have credentials and have a reputation and a pattern, right? Bart Kay once said, if you have a piece of right, where am I? And you pile more on top of it, it's still. So if you have 100 people that disagree with this one guy, it doesn't make them right. It's just, that's right. Like you're in an NBA game, right? You see 5 NBA players and you see LeBron James. You're probably going to want to listen to LeBron James, who has a pattern of being right and doing it his way. So
No, I'm just going to call you a conspiracy theorist and write you off.
Yes. Well, I'm a charlatan. I mean, for YouTube purposes, the vaccine is safe and effective and prevents severe illness. So everything I'm saying is absolute nonsense. In fact, the word which I'm deleting out on this again won't even be in there. Okay? Blank. Bleeped out.
Hey, similarly with this nutrition thing. I mean, I know Phil's talked about it. Oh, we're called conspiracy theorists, nut jobs. Like, what do we know? You know what? It's common sense. And my own personal experience. That's my science. Right? You can't deny that.
And that's what science is. Science is about being in a lab, metaphorically speaking, experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
And then, so the research I've done, watching some podcasts with Anthony Chafee, Rob Kiltz is another favorite of mine. He's a endocrinologist from Syracuse, like fertility endocrinologist. And he's used carnivore, keto, as well as conventional medicine to treat infertility. And he's super compassionate. I totally love this guy. So him, Phil, and Anthony Chafee, Rob Kiltz.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite. But you want to get into conspiracy theories?
Actually, I think Dana White, UFC commentator, said it best. I have a clip of him I just want to play. This is when they went after Joe Rogan. And I want to say something about Joe Rogan after I play this clip because it's very, very important. Because everyone said they went after him because of COVID, but I'm going to tell you why I think that's demonstrably false. So let me play this clip.
Are you surprised at the backlash that people don't even want to allow you to discuss options and pretreatment?
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Yeah, it's one of the craziest things that I've ever witnessed in my life. And I'm not talking about experimental drugs or things that this stuff's been around. And the ivermectin, the guy won the Nobel Peace Prize.
You're a doctor?
Huh?
You're a doctor?
No, but there's plenty
There
of doctors
you go.
that do.
Here he comes.
I just asked a question. Are you a doctor?
No, but I took them and they both work for me. So why shouldn't I be able to take them again? Or other people?
I won't answer.
No, come on, dive in. You want to know what's scary? I bet I could get some pain pills quicker than I could get monoclonal antibodies. No, not maybe. That's a fact.
Are you surprised at the
So-
backlash?
Dana White said it best. If you took something and it makes you feel better, shouldn't you be able to take it again? Like if you're trying carnivore and this acne that you've had since 9 years old, look at this woman's face. It's gone. Your mental focus on the volleyball court is a lot sharper. And it's working for you. And it looks like it gave you 20 more years in your life. Like you, I mean...
Yeah, like name a carnivore who has a bad complexion. You can't find one.
Not one.
Like,
No.
right?
No. Look at, like how old I'm my birthday's tomorrow. How old am I? Tell everybody how old I am.
How old you are? You're, I think, 54. Gonna be 54, right?
Yep. Do I look 54?
No.
No. I look like a creepy 35. I mean, that's cool, but I don't look 54. I'm doing things that in my life that work for me. I'm doing things in my life that I know my body gets mad at me about. But at some point, the scientists or the people in the lab are the patients. This is why there's power to the patient. And I remember a volleyball player, Dane Blanton, was like, so in other words, you're just throwing crap to a wall and see what sticks. I'm like, yes. That's what you're doing in life. You're throwing crap against the wall and seeing what sticks. And the reason why we respect the scientists actually had or have respect is because that's all they do. They take notes, right? They have they're taught a certain way works, and that's what they're doing in the lab. They're throwing crap against the wall, seeing what sticks, and making journals, right? And then seeing if everybody else and seeing if their peers agree with that journal, right? That's not speaking as a doctor, because that's how clinical studies are done. I'm not even talking about clinical studies. I'm talking about statistical studies. I'm talking about if you say that, for example, if you say that there are more unvaccinated people in the hospital instead of vaccinated people, right? But fail to mention that 78% of them, the variable, are clinically obese, or have comorbidities, or immunocompromised. 76%. That's a conservative number too. Then you're not telling the whole truth, or the variables here where the truth is there, it's hidden in plain sight. I don't even know if any of it's going to survive the podcast. I'm just saying where it's going. We might take this part out or leave it in, whatever, and you guys can take it or leave it. But the point I was trying to say is science, not questioning science, is not science. That's called religion. Not questioning science, following science unconditionally is called religion. Let's talk about eggs. Let's talk about eggs. In the 80s, you had to avoid eggs at all costs.
Yes, because it increased your cholesterol.
Right.
Don't have that egg yolk. Go egg white omelet, right?
And then in the 90s, like
It's
you
okay.
said, egg whites. Egg
Right?
whites
Yeah.
are good, right? And
Yeah.
then from 2000 on,
It's okay. Right?
you're like, it's okay.
Yeah. No, if you want to start calling me a conspiracy nut, this is the thing about the nutrition. So nutrition guidelines, or this nutrition that we know today, started 100 years ago from a woman called Ellen G. White. She was one of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is the stuff this is the why after, learning how to do carnivore.
So now,
made me good, yeah.
Once again, we're qualified to talk about it because now we're talking about historical context.
Yeah.
And not
I'm
the clinical
not
context.
bashing the religion
No.
at all.
No, but we're talking about the historical context.
Yeah, so Ellen G. White had these, from what I understand, these visions that, what was it? Eating meat was bad, but that you have to suppress sexual urges. That's what it was. Not about the meat, but it was that. Being lustful is a sin.
Right.
Going out and having sex with someone.
Yeah, that's the event as well.
That was
right.
her belief. She had a protege who she taught all this beliefs and whatever to. And who was that person? Dr. John Harvey Kellogg.
Wow.
Who made Kellogg's to what it is today, like the cereal. So he invented this food, this bland cereal, whether it was to really, did he know that I'm going to make this cereal and it's so bland that it's going to control people's minds and they're not going to have sex with each other? I don't know. But so there's a lot of ties with the Seventh Day with food companies, Sanitarium Foods, and that stuff is documented. So if you want to fact check that, who did that is Gary Fettke and his wife, Belinda Fettke. She has a good presentation on YouTube about all these conflicts of interest of Kellogg's, Nestle, Coca-Cola, all their subsidiaries funding for research to say that these foods are safe. You can have sugar, and saturated fat is bad.
Right. Yeah.
So,
oh, geez. Yeah.
But that's the stuff I've uncovered. So Gary Fettke is Australian doctor. I can't remember what he treated, but he treated patients, and he started telling his patients, go carnivore, or not against what the hospital's beliefs were, and they tried to take his license away, I think. And he went through a bunch of stuff, but I think he was able to keep it, but he had to fight. And his wife did a lot of digging around and uncovered a lot of stuff.
That's crazy.
So, fast forward, you're still doing studies that were fudged by scientists who were paid off by either food companies or someone who had that conflict of interest to make these guidelines.
Stock options invested in places companies are supposed to regulate.
Right.
Yeah.
70s, 80s, that's when it was all like low fat. That's what you got to do. Vegetable oil is healthy for you. That's the heart healthy alternative. You want to stay away from animal fats and butter. Right? That's how I grew up.
But vegetable oil was the way to go.
Vegetable oil, canola, and that's the stuff that I know was always in the house, and I think that's what attributed to a lot of my issues, because that stuff causes inflammation in your body, and then it can manifest in different ways. For me, it was like my skin, my acne. For other people, it could be something autoimmune. So anything like canola, soybean, safflower oil, if you read labels, it's in a lot of processed food. Even chocolate. A lot of chocolates will have that as an emulsifier. Like cookies, crackers that
that's
have,
me. That's what I got upstairs, killing myself.
That say healthy for you, heart healthy, low fat. Will have something in there like that, which is crazy, right?
There was a group in the 80s called the Brat Pack, which was Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Thomas, I think, Rob Lowe. They were all making those movies like 16 Candles, Weird Science, The Breakfast Club. Emilio Estevez is part of that. And they lived in a hotel for, I believe, a year and a half. And they were put on something called a high-carb diet. So they had to eat bread every day because they said that bread was going to give them the energy to function and do all these things. And I was like... You're out of your mind, dude. And then it's weird. Then in the late 90s comes, carbs bad, like all carbs bad, right? And then all sugar bad, some sugar bad, right? So it's so weird that the same people that change their minds more than people change their underwear are the same people that are saying if you don't listen to them, you don't respect the science. I'm like, you gotta earn that respect, bro. What are you doing? So actually Houston, you got Third Coast out there, right?
Yeah.
Then
it's 2 miles from my house, so
yeah.
Play up till midnight.
Yeah. I have some friends from Texas. Actually Stephen Rochitz and Peter Canola in California
San
now.
Antonio, but
they're coaching, but I'm sure they play some tournaments there as well.
Yeah, but then they moved, right?
They moved to Kansas.
Right,
yeah. They have Empire Volleyball Club.
Right.
So
you should come out and check it out.
He's a guy that takes care of his body all the time. He's a guy. He's leaving tomorrow. He's someone that should be sitting right there, right there. You know why? Because I nicknamed Steve Roshitz the Secretary of Making Sense. The way he's like some of his posts on social media, he's not like Rudy's not cross, but he does like if I do this and this happens, does that not make sense to you, right? And that level of politeness just irritates some people, whatever. And even someone that approaches some of these things as nice as him, get that way. So, but I'm really glad you're doing good things with your body. I'm really glad that the things that you're doing with your body are affecting your mind. The last 2 years, I've been feeling tired all the time. I used to sing karaoke 4 days a week, 3 days a week, and like by the time we finish this podcast, and by the time I go eat, I just want to go to bed, and I'm like, it's just a yucky feeling.
Well, what are you doing with your diet right now? Because I know you were talking about the intermittent fasting, like you're doing that.
Which actually had a reverse effect that like shot my energy through the roof.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting is a good thing for you because it creates something called autophagy, which is where your cells like get rid of like the bad cells and allows stuff to regenerate. So that's the term that they use. But you need to not eat for a time
hours,
period.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's defined, but if you're shoveling food every 2 hours into yourself, like you're not going to have that autophagy.
No, here's what I think it's going on, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Starbucks, I've been eating like these Trenti coffee cups with like 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla, hazelnut, right?
That's the largest size, right?
And you get this, but it's like 1 cup of, I drink half in the morning.
Well, because it's the biggest size.
Yeah, you'd have to, right? But I'm pretty sure that's what's giving me this energy that I think I need, but at the same time, a few hours later, this debilitating crash. And I think that might be it, And I love having this conversation because, again, experts are not going to have this conversation because experts don't ask themselves questions they already know the answers to. For us, the audience listening, to have experts come in, you need a dummy like me, a total moron from Brooklyn to ask the stupid question. There's no way we get smart answers by not asking stupid questions. So that's why I'm glad we're making this happen.
So what convinced me, well, other than like myself, I'm like, I know this is benefiting me. Like I'm not harming myself. Other things that convinced me were, there's studies that say the opposite of, what is conventionally known, right? You can counteract those studies. So there's the data, which one is right. I mean, this is what you do. You test yourself. You go to, say, Anthony Chaffee's YouTube podcast on whatever topic it is, or anyone else's, right? You read the comments, and you will get numerous comments of people who said, I had irritable bowel syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, cardiovascular disease, this cured me. This you cannot discount all those comments, and some of these people have a lot of views. There is something to be said about that, right? You don't need the actual science to back it up, right?
And again, I can't emphasize enough. Please examine the variables. Please examine some of the things that are like, well, you should take variables for the dummies out there. The variables is a list of things on the side, maybe in fine print, maybe on the back page that like, hey, before you ride or die with this study, these are things that you need to take into account, right? Like if we do a veganism versus carnivore study, right? And there's a vegan that produced a study that shows that veganism works better, right? How about a lot of vegans I know do yoga, right? A lot of them train in the sunlight. They build their vitamin D that way, right? How about like the things that they do outside of their actual diet is a variable that is not mentioned in the study. Right, and maybe the carnivore is some 95-year-old guy that has green peppers with his sausage, right? And maybe the meat he's eating is being cooked in corn oil or vegetable oil, right? So is that someone that says, hey, the doctor did this study, we have to ride or die with it? That's a statistical study that has lurking variables that we, as the patient, with the power and and hopefully, pray to God, the informed consent We have to be smarter. We have to say we have to ask what we're missing. What's the catch? This sounds great. This veganism thing. What steak is like? I mean, that's $63 for what I had last night. This sounds a lot cheaper. What's the catch? And that's what I can't thump through everybody's thick head enough. These are things where it's their responsibility to let you know, but you have to be careful with the human error. The human error is what's in it for them. The human error is this sounds too good to be true, what's missing.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel like I'm so slow trying to break that down, but it can't be said enough.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do your own research and digging, right? I mean, for me, it was like, I want to know the why. I mean, I think, because I convinced one of my friends to try carnivore, and he did, but he didn't do his research. Like,
right.
This is like why I'm doing this, right? It's not just that you're eating this; it's the lack of this. And you couldn't stick with it.
Right.
And you have to empower yourself and give yourself some education also. And also, I think that I don't know if that sounds bad, but I think the world is against you if you come out and say, "I only eat meat."
Yeah.
Everyone would be like,
yeah.
Get a vegan death threat. What are you doing? You're going to kill yourself. I mean,
yeah. And how
that's not how it is. That's not the nutrition guidelines.
I mean, and it also depends the who. Like anyone, like the problem is if there's a lot of people, it comes from all angles and you ain't got time to be listening to everybody, right? But if they're referring to some person like, let's say like Bill Gates, who pretty much wants you to eat bugs, right? But he's gonna be in the Swiss Alps eating filet, 8-ounce filet, right? This is the guy that wants you to drink through a paper straw and not use your gas stove, but he's also flying over your problems in a private jet. The guy literally went to a climate summit via private jet, which one trip is like 42 cars, 42 cars on 2 tanks of gas, right? So yeah, you can't fight everybody, but what you can do, like ask them what their sources are and you consider their source. And from there you can have a healthy debate about that.
Hopefully healthy. I haven't really had to have a conversation like that, but I do want to at least arm myself with some studies that say meat is not just bad.
All right.
Saturated fat is not going to kill you, right?
Right.
That's stuff I'm trying to like kind of build up and have in my arsenal when I'm ready to
the civility
battle.
of the conversation, that's step 2, right? Being armed with the information is one thing, but the civility of the conversation where someone that has sharp debate skills doesn't bury you, and not really give you a chance to get it out. Anyone that's constantly posing the question where they're putting you on the spot, they're controlling the debate, they're controlling the conversation, because they're the ones just asking questions and not cross solutions and not really trying to get to an answer. So it's not a healthy debate because you're not trying to answer a question together. It's I'm right, prove me wrong, right? And for everyone that believes that a debate has to start that way, they're not 100% wrong, but they're not 100% right either. Coming in with an open mind is very rare because everybody has an agenda.
And an open mind is very important. And I think that's what happened. I came into this way back then with an open mind, right? And this is what it led me today.
And it's so hard to believe that you don't have an agenda because in general, everyone has an agenda. But if you have an agenda, what is it? What was your agenda? What? Right. So give me some examples of some of the things during or post-carnivore that change in your life. You said the mental change, right? You were mentally more focused. How about appetite? Like, for example, I'm neurologically addicted to anything bread.
Yeah, and
pasta, whatever, and it just makes me want more pasta after I'm done eating.
Well, I have a sugar addiction.
Okay.
And I didn't know I had one because you don't know if you have one, but I think I had one at an early age, like always, sweets, cakes, can't stop. And I think that's how I'm hardwired. But yeah, again, like I'm not 100% carnivore.
No one is. No, but
Right?
carnivore in the
Some people claim they are.
no, but in the classic definition, it's 75%
Yeah, okay.
or more.
I would say that, like 80%, right? If I'm at home, I can control what I eat, but I still have candy around the house, right? I will get that craving. If my appetite, I mean, in the morning I make eggs and bacon, or I have it pre-made so I can just easily make it.
Right.
Lunch
Oh,
I'll have
good for
ground
you.
beef. But where I get those cravings, and then craving is different than being hungry.
Right.
It's like after lunch, and I want something sweet. And sometimes I'll cave.
It's calling you.
Right,
It's calling
it
you.
is.
It's like crack cocaine. It's like it's
Yeah, like
calling
sugar
you.
is a drug. It really is. It
Yeah.
just like gives you that dopamine hit and makes you feel good. And you're like,
Right.
then after I eat it, I'm trying to think, did I need that? What, like, trying to like pick myself apart psychologically. How did that make you feel, Melissa, after you ate that one chocolate bar?
It's true.
But yeah, if I have one, it's like, okay, what else can I have? Then I
Right.
try to look for something else.
Well, I guess the reason why I'm more biased towards foods that make me feel better instead of like a medication or a drug or whatever is because one is kind of changing your lifestyle, and the other one's reaching a goal. Like I used to weigh 265, right? And there are a bunch of things you can do that you can lose weight. You take 6 months, you do this, right? But if it's not part of your lifestyle, what's going to happen? You're going to be right back where you started from. How many friends do I have that lost a little bit of weight and then they gained it all back? Or some people that didn't see immediate results and just said, the hell with this, just throw up their hands and do whatever, And I think people would rather just do the drug because the drug they feel like takes care of their work for them. We were just talking about Lipitor, right, which is a cholesterol medication, a Pfizer product. But the other pharmaceuticals they have their own version of Lipitor, right? We can go on and on, right? Is it easier to take the drug than to change your diet?
For most people, yes.
Yeah,
And that's all they want to do.
right.
So people may not feel empowered to take control of their life, right?
Yeah,
I'll just take this drug, or I've been told that, like, if I take this, I'm not going to have a heart attack,
right.
right? For me, I didn't mention, like, the weight loss. I mean, okay, I'm 5'5", so I'm tiny. So you can't really see, like, if I've lost any weight. But I think at the heaviest to I was maybe, like, 132, maybe 135. Get down to 125. It's not dramatic, but I think my body has changed. Like, I don't work out my abs that much, but looks like I have a 6-pack or something. Looks like I work out like crazy, but it's just the ketosis and just being on this diet, right? Most people who are into this carnivore diet or started it was because they were extremely obese, had a ton of issues, chronic conditions like psoriasis, irritable bowel, you name it,
Rheumatoid
anything
arthritis,
autoimmune.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that you can see the most dramatic change of. Obviously, like, if you lose 100 pounds, yeah, I'm going to notice that. Or, if your skin was super bad and had a bunch of, plaques on it, but they're gone now, you're going to notice that.
Right.
I think for people who start carnivore, it's mostly those who were told, you have to be on this drug to control it. It's super expensive. You're going to be on it for life.
For life, exactly.
Right. This is just control your symptoms.
I'm always leery of that, but sorry,
Right.
finish what you're saying.
Control your symptoms. Oh, if this one doesn't work, we'll try another one. That doesn't work, we're going to move to this one, right? I mean, advances in drugs are quite good now, where they can target this mechanism, and now they keep coming out with new drugs all the time where you can control it, but it's not a cure.
No.
And those
No,
people,
it's something it's residual income for the people who, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as they say, it's the people who hit rock bottom are the ones who discover this lifestyle.
Yeah, it's crazy that
Right?
you have to fall off the cliff, right?
But a lot of them
for
do,
you to-
because they were
isn't
told,
that insane? Yeah.
because they said, eat low fat, a lot of vegetables, don't eat red meat, eat more chicken, stuff like that. They've tried that. They tried to lose the weight. Oh, it doesn't work. I still feel bad. I look terrible. I just look inflamed, puffy, whatever it is, right? Then they try this something that's completely the opposite of what they've been told, and it made a change. And of course, what are they going to
Wow.
believe? They're going to listen to their doctor? Said, oh, I changed this. I got better.
Jeez.
You know what? I don't need your drugs.
Yeah. Wow.
But those are the people who, like, I mean, if I was in that boat, I'd be very upset. And some people are. And that's why they, certain ones who have the guts to speak out, go on platforms or, do their own thing. I mean, there's a lot out there.
For me, all of the brave people like that are the ones that are defending informed consent, right? And there are people that, for example, my boss, Dr. Rosenfeld, will be like, look, you can, he measures his patient and he'll have a conversation with his patient. He'll be like, hey, this is good for that. This is good. This helps lower your blood pressure. And if the patient's just like, dude, just give me the drugs, right? You advise them and they're like, please just give me the drugs. Give them the drugs. It's not my function to tell someone who wants the easier or harder way out. It's not my function to I don't know, prey on their ignorance. Like I said, ignorance is not only bliss, it's constitutional. It's their right to be stupid. But it's not somebody's right to tell you how you feel or don't feel about something, right?
Exactly.
And it is feelings, because everybody's like, facts don't care about your feelings. But if we're not talking about facts, if their feelings hide the facts, right? If the fact says, if there's a fact that says that there's a drug that gets taken, like Duract was a pain med, right? You were a doctor promoting that, let's say, right? The fact is this drug got taken off the market because it was dangerous, right? But you didn't say anything because you felt a different way, about your salary. So if for all of those people that say facts don't care about your feelings, you can't have it both ways. You got, you got to have that same energy when you're wrong. And that's why I'm always telling people to be nice to each other. Be polite, right? Because it's so incredibly embarrassing when you find out you're wrong to admit that you've been wrong. We went through 3 years of going at each other's throats, of gaslighting people, right? And I hate to go back to this whole COVID thing. I really don't mean to, because we're talking about something that's just as important and in many life-saving ways more important than what happened to us the last 3 years, right? I mean, our nutrition mission is more important because it helps you with ailments and without having to take a drug for the rest of your life, right? So, but I really didn't like that. I don't like the lack of informed consent. Like, I would have more respect if someone says, hey, here's something, we're scared and we're experimenting with this and you can take it or leave it. I'd have more respect for everybody if they did that, but that's not what happened. Mm-hmm. You're a baby killer. You're a grandma killer. You don't respect the science. In this house, we follow the science, right? Cable news anchors lecturing you. The amount of moral preening that came with this. Didn't allow you to travel, right? Couldn't go to a restaurant. Is this not a stupid time, right? 5 people were allowed to wear a mask going into the restaurant, but as soon as they sat down, all That's 5 of them could take it off because
you're eating.
Yes, and COVID respects that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, COVID only operates 5 feet high, You're like, hey. You're like, so you're saying I'm nose deep into it, But that was the issue that I had with that. And the reason why I keep going back to that is because in nutrition mission, there's opposition to that, where there is a little bit of like, you're an animal killer because you're eating meat. And I'm just like, you're an idiot. More animals die to make food for vegans than animals die for carnivores to eat meat. That's a numerical fact. They don't know that. There are more animals that die to protect plants
right.
than actual animals that are being hunted for and killed.
Yes.
numerical. It's numerically true.
But they're going to ignore that.
Right. Yeah, I don't get that. So, but do you see the cross correlation and why I keep going back to the,
Yeah.
you know?
No, it is. It's true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. Same, different story, same scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
So what else? So you have sweets in your life besides meat. What else?
So other than sweets and meat, I have
Sweets,
I
sweets and meat,
yeah.
people.
No, so I eat dairy. So you know, I can have milk, cheese. Some people don't. You know, there's some variation.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I ate some fruit because you know it's not. At least it's not processed, but I just gave that up because I'm like, I don't want this to be moldy sitting here, you know.
Right.
Fruit goes bad.
And in California, it's terrible. Like you can spend like $19 on strawberries, and I'm like, wait, the 6 bottom strawberries are just bad. You just sold me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Sometimes
California's listening to this, man. You guys are. We're just on a BITCH session right now at this point in the podcast. But
Yeah. So anything animal based, like you know, I'll cook with butter, ghee. And there's something called 0 acre oil that they say it's from sugarcane, but it has the better ratio with the higher omega-3 with the omega-6, where it won't be harmful to you.
What's a good source of omega-3?
Well, I mean,
Salmon is.
that. I mean, they
pretty
say
good.
olive oil, right? But you do have to be careful about the type of olive oil that you get, or whether it's cut with vegetable oil.
Right.
That's what I've heard. So I mean, I have it in the house, but I won't cook with it very much at all.
No.
You know, I can eat fish products, chicken, but it's primarily red meat for me. You know, it's
Well,
and they
salmon is like 1 square of salmon is like ridiculous amount of units of vitamin D. You know, 1 square is like equal to like a whole bunch of supplements. And and I'm glad I hung on to the podcast long enough to remember one of the stories of the adventures of taking supplements. I'll give you an example. I get my blood work done a few years ago because I lost a lot of weight, and I was only eating red meat like 3 times a month. I was just on this chicken diet, and eating 5 times a day, special K in the morning, banana, right, all this stuff, but at the same time working out, and the mixture of fat burners that I used helped me lose the weight, even though I was losing muscle. And I was also anemic. I found that like when you first hear the word anemic, and you're a city kid, you think it's like some kind of disease you could give to someone if you touch them. It's like, don't touch me, I'm anemic, you know, whatever. Just like, no, anemic means low iron, you dork, right? So what happens? You start taking iron supplements, right, to make sure your iron's okay. But then the iron supplements cause your poop to be hard. Right? And now you're having a hard time stuff coming out, right? So then you take Metamucil for your poop, right? And then one night you're at the train station and you have to like break wind or fart, and then you poop. And all of this led to this path from the iron to this to Metamucil to this, right? See, do you see the like all of these idiots that talk about how marijuana is a gateway drug to cocaine, like think about supplements that are gateway drugs to other things, because I had to take the iron from my anemia, then I had to take the Metamucil because I didn't poop, and now you have to take something else for that. When all you had to do was just have some red meat in your life, or cold spinach. It was also a good source of iron for the vegetarians and vegans. That's your thing, cold spinach. Spinach heated up loses its nutritional value for those people that do that, but I could have just done that. Digestive system would have been more or less better.
So you want to start a poop talk conversation? This will be really short.
Let's do it.
So you go on this diet, your poops are never nicer. They've never been nicer. And you do not have gas.
Nope. You might sell it. You might sell it to a millionaire. Just dry it up.
But it's absolutely true.
Right.
You don't notice how much you fart when you don't eat vegetables or anything with fiber, because they say your digestive system cannot really digest that stuff. So it just, ferments, comes out of you, and then, but you have a messy poop if you're eating vegetables. All
right.
I mean, everyone knows what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, dude, this is no longer a private conversation.
Like
this is,
As an athlete standpoint, I know people say I don't get sore if I go on this diet. I can go. I mean, I'll still get sore if I work out. Maybe my joints can take it better, but again, I don't have a definite. I can't say that, but that's what, because we have athletes as an audience, that you can just go and feel like your endurance. I mean, for me, maybe I feel more heat tolerant. Like I can play, I have better focus when it's like 90 degrees and 60% humidity outside. It could be, I could be imagining that too,
Dude.
but I'm just saying, like, if you're an athlete and you're not overweight with a chronic condition, I mean, why not try it out? Maybe in the off season. Probably not now, but you know what
No,
I'm
because
saying?
your
But
body
it's-
has to get used to that too, right? So
right,
that adjustment is,
there is.
body saying, okay, this is different. You need to give me a minute.
Yes.
You ever see what do you follow TKN at all? Kristen,
yeah.
Nuss, and Taryn
That,
Kloth?
that's the team I'm rooting for probably the most. I am Canadian,
Yes.
but TKN, my number one.
Do you know how cool those two have to be to make a volleyball purist? And when I say purist to the audience, a purist is someone who follows the sport because they love the sport, not necessarily a particular player. But with that being said, do you know how cool you have to be to have a purist follow them? I follow them. They're my favorite two female players. It was them two and Chrissy Jones, who doesn't even play the sport anymore, just a very
She's-
physical player that could play defense, that could block, a great serve to space.
Oh, I've seen her play indoor.
Big smile on her face. You saw her play at
Well,
Washington?
yeah,
Yeah.
because I used to live in Seattle.
Right.
Yeah, so I saw
Did she
her.
play OH?
I think she even played some middle.
Yeah.
Because they were short middles, so she's like, I'll do it.
Yeah. Never want to put a sister in the middle. What's up with that? But yeah, so there's TKN and I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for
Oh,
them.
so am I.
I hope they win. I hope they win. And I hope they retire and have a whole bunch of babies and just leave and just leave the gold medal at the front door for everybody who doubted that team. I mean, you can't even imagine their path. Now we're going to talk some fun stuff before we get out of here. We're going to talk volleyball. You're from Texas, so you probably, I don't know if they travel to Texas, but you probably get news that travels faster from New Orleans to Texas than New Orleans to California. So this is 2020. Sean Ledig, losing New Orleans. Just, you want to talk about a body. This dude's now a grandfather, and he's got muscles in places now don't have places. He is an absolute hunk. And he comes and he's like, hey, yo, Jay. Hey, I got these two girls, man. They're going to be the future, right? You got to get them on your podcast. You got to, dude, you trust me. You will not regret this, right? So I have them on the podcast. They're still in college, and they're just fun to talk to. And there were some weird moments, like not awkward moments, but weird moments when I talked about one of my favorite books, and it was called Unbroken. I read a book called by Laura Hildebrand, and they just got done watching the movie before they came on the podcast. So for me to mention that, we had these crazy connections that just kept shocking us. So and I was like, wow, good for them. And then I said, let me follow them for a little bit. You go through their last year of college, you're 36-0. They didn't lose one match. Played USC 3 times, beat the brakes off of Gradina, right? Played UCLA 3 times, beat the brakes off of their pair one. Don't know, don't care, right? One girl's 5'6", from my non-volleyball people. One girl's 6'5", so standing next to each other, they look like mother and daughter. And I was like, what a great college coaching career. Great call, Sean. I'm glad I had him on the podcast. And little did I know that they were just getting started.
Right.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Is there something you want to say before I complete this adventure known as Nuss and Kloth?
No, go on.
All right, so you heard that, audience. All right, I gave my guests a chance to talk, so shut up. On the regional scene, they only lose one match. It's in Florida, I think, to the Brazilians, the Maestrinis, in a third set that they're up. But from then on, they won like AVP New Orleans. Beat the Maestrinis by forfeit because it was gnarly and everybody cramped up except them. And that was New Orleans, so it was like a home game for them. They won Wapaka, right? They won Atlantic City, which was actually $100,000 purse. So you did have Betsy come out, Chrissy Jones, Muno, Theon came one. And then the Gold Series, Atlanta, qualifier, main draw, won. And now the rumor was USA Volleyball said in order for them to have FIVB points, they have to play with a partner that has points. There was no way they can whatever. So the conspiracy is that certain people were trying to break them up. And then at the end say that girl's too short, Taryn, come with us. And that's what I think my conspiracy mind was going. So what they do is they travel to Australia and they get the last spot in the qualifier with no points. Ladies and gentlemen, qualifier, main draw, won. 4-star tournament in Australia. So now they have FIVB points. And for all the conspiracy theorists, it was a big middle finger to everybody that thought that they should break up because of this or whatever stupid reason, right? They get whooped in Manhattan Beach. That's April Ross and Alex Kleiman, who were just playing their best volleyball at the right time. I mean, no one in the world stopped them, so that they get a pass, right? But then Chicago, they win, right? No, Chicago is 40-38 against Alex and April, so that was one of those long matches, right? But from that point on, they won Atlanta 3 times. They're the 3-time Chicago champs, right? They won Austin. They're the number 2 seed in the world. And they finally beat the team that has been a stylistic nightmare for them, Duda and Anna Patricia, who's a stylistic nightmare for everybody. And this girl comes back on the podcast, and the same crew of fans that were with her then, they're with her now, and she's still loyal to her people. And that's so like country strong, like rural redeeming, right? So
and the fact that they still live, like they don't live in California.
Right.
They're doing their own thing. I mean, they'll come out here, right? But they're still based.
Which I thought as
New
a coach and a commentator, and as a mixture of both. As a commentator, I'm always happy to talk about that because that's a great story. They chose to go their own way. But if you're talking strategic as a coach, I think it's brilliant. I think let's talk about facts. Fact. The lieutenant governor calls them up. You're fully sponsored by the state of Louisiana. Everything's paid for. Trips paid for. Boom. Fact. They have a state-of-the-art facility as alumni for LSU. They get to approach and come anytime they want. Fact. Their college coach, Russell Brock, is still there, so they always got him if they need to use him. Fact. Their assistant coach, Drew Hamilton at LSU, is now their full-time coach. And the guy doesn't like to fly, so I have no idea how he got to Paris. Maybe he got in the canoe and just had, on the speaker, stroke. So
they had some trouble getting out to Paris.
All right. I wonder why. I'll bet you it had something to do with that guy who don't like to fly, Very quiet dude.
Well, I think some things that maybe got canceled, and then they had to drive to Houston the day after, and they were all on different itineraries, the 3 of them.
Right.
But they made it, at least.
But having her on the podcast, and I said, I love that you're loyal to your people, and her just saying, I really don't know how else I can be, was so everything you need to know about Kristen Nuss. Her brother, Pete, played. He was, I think, in the main draw a couple of times. Older brother. Oh, this is, I guess, say back when. I don't even know when. But Derek Zimmerman, who's like a New Orleans guy, said that, pointed that out. Pete, her brother, played. Derek Zimmerman was also a guy that made the main draw, and a very gracious host when I came to New Orleans. But it's
humble
what's
beginnings.
what's not to love,
right? And she is just. Well, both of them are, as a team, they are incredible to watch. Like the things that they can do. And Kristen's just like.
Let me say.
The transition is just amazing.
So say something really cool that you like about Nuss.
Nuss. I have a picture with her, and I say I'm 5'5", I'm 5'4.5". I might be taller than her.
She's a huncher.
You don't want to hear that.
Kristen's a huncher. She hunches.
I don't know if that was cool, but I legitimately have a picture with her. We're both in flip flops, and I might be this much taller.
Look, short people forgive other short people. That's cool.
But she got stronger legs than me, or bigger, and she got But yeah, she's got that drive, right? She's like super competitive. Like, I can do anything.
Nothing's impossible.
right,
Nothing's
and that-
undoable. Right? Nothing's undoable. Here's what I like about her. There are very few killers in this game. Like, there are players that are aggressive, and they're off the dig, and they do have some killer instinct. But when I say killer, the person that when you serve them, they're so offended that you chose them, they'll make you wish you never did. It was the worst thing you've ever done in your life, and they'll make you regret it every time you play them. And I don't get that from any other female player except Betsy Flint. She's got that, and she had a baby. Maybe she's chilled since then. And Kristen Nuss. Sarah Hughes, a little bit. You get that because when she starts transitioning out, she looks like the transition queen, and a lot of that has the hint, the symptom of the killer description I'm talking about. Kristen Nuss is a killer. She is a killer, dude. And the other thing I like about her is very much the things I like about Taylor Crabb. When she gets a dig, you're at the edge of your seat after she gets the dig because you know something really cool is going to happen.
Yeah, like what is she going to do?
Yes. And I only feel that she's the only female player that I feel that way about. And there are a lot of great female defenders. Duda is a real one. She's someone that has a little bit of Sarah Hughes, right? Like, I'm sure her dig the trans kill game was awesome, but there's only maybe one other or two other players I feel the same way about. And for the men, I go Taylor for the American scene. I'm on the edge of my seat. Something cool's going to happen. He got that dig, right? Some crazy, nonsensical basket catch dig or something, right? Or just protecting his left breast, boom. And then all of a sudden. So for domestically, I go Taylor. Internationally, I go Ahmed. Every time he gets a dig, he's not shooting. It's a hit. And you're just like, he's gonna crater something. He's gonna he is gonna blow it up. Yeah, they're on a slump right now, right? A little bit. Like, you don't hear,
Well, I haven't heard much
as far as
lately,
like finishes, you don't hear a lot about them. But who knows? It's about who's playing at the best at the right time, right?
But yeah, it's a good time. Like this weekend, it's starting.
Yeah, let's stay with the women. Let's have a little fun. I'm not calling any matches now. I'm just gonna pick who I think is gonna win. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, do I say TKN?
Do you? Is that what you're saying now?
Questioning myself. I'm going to say yes.
There you go.
Yes.
I say all paths to the gold medal go through Duda and Anna Patricia. Stylistically, Hughes and Chang seem to be a better matchup against them than Kristen, Nuss, and Taryn Kloth have been. But what they have that Hughes and Chang don't have is, get ready the comment section. They have superior coaching. They have a room full of people that are very good at making adjustments, and you notice as soon as the next match that they play that team, that they crack the code, and then from that point on they just keep beating that team, taking nothing away from Jordan Chang, who's been a fantastic coach for Kelly, and probably even a better husband. And Gustavo is going to be their coach. Gus from USC, longtime assistant. Could probably be a head coach, but he loves, I think him being an assistant where he wants to be. So for me, for the softest cotton sensitive people out there, me saying that these people have better coaching is their way of me saying that I'm casting aspersions on the other coaches, which is what I'm so not doing. At the end of the day, there can only be one winner, right? There can only be one gold medalist, and more often than not, that's in large part to preparation and process and technique, and that is included but not limited to the coach. Did I take too long to say that?
No.
So
what about Melissa and Brandy? You think they'll?
I think
medal?
styles making matchups. That's a bad one for Chang and Hughes. That's one that Chang and Hughes run into. That's I don't know if Chang did something to Melissa or Brandy, but Brandy seems to have a little Brandy and Anna Patricia have an extra something when they play Hughes and Chang. And I suspect it had something to do with Chang. Like Chang sometimes has this elongated scream or whatever and this and that. And it's just my eye test. I don't know. But I do remember when they were shaking hands, Anna Patricia, like pointing her finger and like giving her the business. And I don't speak Portuguese, but it looked like she was not happy with her, you know, and if you have a certain type of player that might have an axe to grind and associate that girl's face with every time with that incident or an incident that never happened, I just made up in my head. Yeah, it's a pretty bad one for them. I go TKN, but it would have to be for the gold, and it would have to be against the Brazilians. You have to get through them. There's no way. You'd have to be the luckiest team in the world to have Brazil lose early and on your path to the gold medal, not have to run into Patricia and Duda. And they're not invincible. Sometimes Duda could be doo-doo. All right? I'm not going to lie, right? Sometimes Duda is not, Duda. Sometimes she's doo-doo. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, so I go TKN. And only because recently they have found their way to beat a team that's been a nightmare to them. How about the men?
So I don't know the men as well, like especially on the international level. But
yeah.
I mean, I think Miles and Andy will go far.
What do you like about Miles? Partain, sorry.
Well, yeah.
You looked at me like.
No, I'm trying to think of an answer. I mean, he's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, just the jump setting.
Yeah.
And the system that they adopted now, right? Like the quick jump set that both of them are doing.
Well, that's something that came easy to him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was never a catch and release setter. What we call the FBI sets. The catch and release setters. Or the Pizza Hut setters, the deep dish or whatever. Pizzeria Uno, I don't know. And jump setting came really easy because if you have a fast release, it doesn't look like you're doing something stupid in the air like this and this, because it looks like you're playing taps instead of volleyball, right? He looks like he's a stickler for taking care of detail in his process and preparation, right? Because on his jump set, you don't really see him facing that and set sideways. He just opens up. He's left-handed, opens up this way, and he'll do this. And now his margin for error is now left and right, out and in, where the Swedes, their margin for error is tight or behind the hitter's head, right? So as people start to watch video on this team and as the blocker is not biting on the jump set, they have to make sure that that deception is accurate, because there's no longer going to be no block. It's not going to be nobody up anymore. You're going to have someone. And you saw Anders Mol fix that really quick. Talk about superior coaching. Geez. They when Miles and Andy beat him twice in the same tournament, I as a coach, I saw that adjustment. Now there's some perfect passes. He's just going to get you on two, and you got to give. And just like in system with 3 hits, right? It's a high percentage because you took care of first hit. So of course, second hit is going to be high percentage because you took care of the pass. So, but he starts seeing like body language on the set, and he's like, nope, he ain't hitting, And then every now and then he'll be like, oh, he disguised it. You got me, right? So it's still a formidable tool, and everyone's picking the Swedes to win. But I gotta go. If Anders Mol is healthy, I don't even think the Swedes are going to stop that team. And then we're going to start having a GOAT conversation, because that would be 2 medals in a row for him, so for Anders Mol.
Mol, Zoram.
Christian Sorums, yeah. Well, you got the best defender in the world and one of the best blockers in the world, so you got to mention him. It's my fault. I got to mention him twice in the same sentence. So you know about tomorrow, right? The round robin?
Tell me again.
Right? Let's find out. Let's go on Facebook. Mark Puhuli. Mark, I butcher your name, but my last name's DeBeus, and I'm 90% sure he doesn't say my name well either. We just call him Mark because I love this guy's. His passion for the game is, God. Even on a social media post, you're like, you can read the passion. I like him a lot. And she's the one that's been spearheading this Hermosa Beach.
Oh, that's
thing that's supposed to happen
in September, right?
Right. All right. Yeah. So let's go to our thing. And let's go to camera 2. And here we go. That's it right
Oh,
there.
so this is it. Okay.
So let me do that. Let me zoom in. Everybody sticking around long enough, that's what it looks like. This is the second part of our conversation. We get to talk about volleyball.
Wow. That's... You said at Hermosa, right?
Yep.
Right here?
Finals at 11. I will not be there for most of it. I'm coaching 8 o'clock. But I might set up my tent. I might set up the shade tent. So my match gets done and I could just walk down and just push record. And I'm good to go. But a lot of people ask me if I'm going to be live streaming it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Ryan
That is
Wilcox is
stacked.
a real one. It was crazy because I thought they're going to put all the Hawaiians on one side. Let's just trade Choi Phil for Trevor, right? And we have all the Hawaiians beat the living hell out of each other in Pool B, right?
No, that's right. Ryan Wilcox is Hawaiian.
Yep. Yeah, he's a outrigger guy
Yeah.
in Punahou High School. So, yeah, he very much reminds me of Taylor Crabb. And I asked Taylor that. I'm like, do you see a lot of you in him? He's like, what, that he's white and he's blonde? I said, because he's white and he's blonde.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What started you into volleyball?
So I'm the youngest of 3 in my family, and I have 2 older brothers. So they were always into sports, like basketball, volleyball. That was in Canada, so, high school boys volleyball does exist.
Nice.
And like Washington and Texas, where high school doesn't, But that's what got me into volleyball, because I'm going to follow suit as the youngest girl of 3. I probably started indoor when I was, let's say, 14, 15, maybe 13. Not that young,
Okay.
but a pretty competitive high school. Did a couple years of club. And
Someone wants to use, sorry, someone's trying to use me as a reference. So what position did you play indoor?
So in high school, setter or opposite. After that, I was playing, adult volleyball, a bunch of different things. DS. I've played nationals, adult nationals, maybe like 2 or 3 years in a row, where I was a middle for the U volley division, which was under 5'9". The under 5'9" division, they're like, Melissa jumps the highest, so it's just throw in the middle. Like, thanks, guys.
What? You just said middle.
Middle.
Oh my God. Good
Because when
Lord.
we're all like 5'5", 5'6", maybe there's a 5'7" person. Like,
Yeah.
did some outside. So I've done everything.
Yeah, NCAA, I played 1 year at Hunter, this small Division III school in New York, and I was there for what you would call a cup of coffee, meaning that I knew I wasn't going to graduate there, but there was a particular season where there was an All-American candidate, Greg Romulus, that was playing. There was so it was Greg and the Fab Five freshmen. We had five really good high school kids that were all decided they wanted to play the same year together, and I just got out of the Army, and I was a pleasant surprise at them because I didn't know I was coming, but great season. We're Division III. We got invited to the EIVA, which is D1 and D2. So we got invited to that tournament. And I had to play middle because all of us were 6'1" across the board, 6'2". So there was no one taller. So it was basically 6 outside hitters. Someone had to set, and we were trained to set. Ning Bin Zhao. I was an outside when I played in Germany, and I wanted to play Oppo. I'm left-handed. Let me just play right side. And the first 13 games, I played Oppo, and we were 11-2, and then they moved me in the middle. And so stupid, we finished 10-10 with me in the middle. So I know correlation is not causation, but I'm just like, dude, we were winning games when you had me on the right side. But good team. Yeah, we got invited to EIVA. Vassar, who's also Division III. Mm-hmm. Vassar is the only Division III team, I think, to make the EIVA finals. They lost to Penn State that year, who won the whole thing. So this Division III school, had to chop down some trees to get to the EIVA finals. And JIT was back then. They were D3. They got invited. NYU and Juniata. Good teams. And we got this little city university with a bunch of city kids, with a really good player from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, who still holds the record. He has 61 kills. He was 61 for 98 5 errors. And that record will
61.
never. 61. Yeah.
How many sets was that?
Four sets in which we lost.
Was that rally at that?
No. Well, it's not
Or,
rally.
well,
That's
like,
why.
back then, like
Well, back
when you
then
got
it was
to
side out.
61?
It was side out. It was 1994.
Okay.
So,
Right.
you know, you
So-
again, you can an hour can go by and it'll still be like 9 up cassette one.
Yeah.
So, but we were mentioned in Sports Illustrated because it was a match that set the record, which still stands, and we lost. We lost to Roger Williams in 4 sets. So, yeah, it was fun. So, let's do lightning rounds. Let's get out of here. You have to be starving. She was like,
Not
no,
gonna eat.
I'm on a carnivore diet. I'm gonna eat. You can come with me.
All
I
right, let's do it.
haven't eaten yet. So let's set the clock. Let's set the clock. I still got the crabs. I still got the brackets up. Don't worry, we're editing the living hell out of this. The important thing, the 2 most important things I want to have in this podcast is the nutrition mission and us chatting about like the Olympics and who wins and
It's an
just
exciting
all the
time.
nice things we said about Kristen, Nuss, and Taryn
Oh,
Kloth
yes.
have to be referenced, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so there's our clock. All right. She's like, how do you
go.
do it?
Oh,
All right.
it's running. It's going.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Go back. All right, ready? Favorite comedian?
Chappelle.
I go Chappelle. Last good book you read?
The Body Keeps the Score, which I'm still reading.
Nice.
But
I finally
one.
started the real Anthony Fauci. Reads like a novel, people. Last good movie you watched?
I'm going to say Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I watched like 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
They call it good.
I actually watched Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley. Someone had it on YouTube, and it's probably taken down. So but it's not a good movie. Obviously, I'll go Sound of Freedom for a good movie. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Pool or beach?
Beach, definitely.
Ice cream or cupcakes?
If I had to pick one, ice cream.
She's a gun in my head. Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter, but I'm not a fan of either. Like, I'm not a big fan of either.
Bourbon, vodka, or tequila?
Not a fan of any 3, but if I did, vodka.
Favorite sport outside of volleyball? There is none. Look at this. She said,
I'm
"Is
just
there
like,
another
I can't even
sport?"
think of anything. I know. I should have an answer because I know your questions, and I
As a
I
spectator,
came
no,
up with
but
something.
think of it in terms of as a
a
spectator or a
spectator?
player.
See, I can't like. I'm gonna say, let's say college football. There
Guys,
you go.
no, she deserves to be on this podcast. She had to think about that. Favorite sport besides volleyball? She had to think about that. That means there is no other, my man. Dude, she deserves to be on this podcast. Favorite action film star growing up?
Let's say Bruce Willis.
Me too, because I Die Hard. Alan Rickman,
Then growing up,
greatest
yeah.
bad guy ever. Any conspiracy rabbit holes?
Hey, you want to start? You want?
Well, I'll go JFK assassination. I don't think he made the shot.
Okay.
I don't think Oswald made the shot.
Okay, this rabbit hole, because you talked about the smoking.
Right.
So Kelly Means is a whistleblower who worked for the food industry, I believe. So he's got his own content, but he's saying that the scientists for the smoking industry, like back when people realized that smoking was bad, the smoking companies kind of bought the food companies and took their scientists and said, "We're gonna make it so that food is good for you.
Yeah.
Our food is not harming you or killing you." There you go. That's a rabbit hole.
Yes.
I never even started to talk about.
But that's a
that is-
whistleblower that needs to put in writing that they're in perfect health. They are not feeling depressed or whatever. I mean, like the Boeing people. I mean, 2 of them died. The 2 people that were supposed to testify, 2 of them died. You know,
It's not coincidence, really.
no gunshot trauma to the head from this angular perspective. That's ruled as suicide, right? And the other person had like food poisoning or something like that. I'm like,
You're like not like 2.
no. But here's the thing that's scary. The people that, like, if I'm a conspiracy nut, the people that did this already knows that we know that it's nonsense. That's just their way of showing how powerful they are. We know that you know what we're doing, and we're doing it
still doing it.
anyway, right?
Because other people don't pay attention.
That
right?
Yeah, but that's their way of saying there's nothing you could do about it. So
So we never talked about. We can do this super quick. How I
Please.
ended up being here
Yes.
learning carnivore 2.5 years ago, making such an impact where I wanted to find Jason DeBellius somewhere in the volleyball world because I know what's going to happen and personally thank him. And, well, it did happen. It took a year or so. I thought I would see you in New Orleans when I started, so 2022. And I
Right.
think I missed you by a day. Like,
Yeah, I was there for 3 days doing the
Right.
club coach documentary.
Yeah, and I had a bunch of friends from Houston. We came up on Friday, so I knew I saw you streaming something on Friday, but then we came in on Saturday, so missed you again. You know, continue living my life, whatever. Next year rolls around, I'm like, oh, I've never been to a AVP in California. Let's just do that for
Wanted to
sake.
Huntington.
Yeah, and then it wasn't like because Jason's there, but it was more like, you know, a couple weeks before, I'm like, oh yeah, I think Jason will be there.
That's
And
awesome.
there you were. And
Well,
surprised the hell out of you on the beach for what I had to say. I'm like,
I-
thank you, Jason. Like that was the impact. And somehow to be sitting here another year after,
well,
it's
here's the weird. Here's
Yeah.
where, the only way that it was weird, and you'll appreciate this. Lately, and I don't want to sound like a superstar, everybody's coming up like, oh my God, that voice sounds familiar. You're NY Varsity Sports, you know? I'm at a UCLA game. Hey, my son listens to watches all of your content. You know, hey, can I shake your hand? Or I was coaching juniors, like LA Volleyball Club, and like a mom and her kids like, can we take a picture with you, right? So they take a picture, and like now all of my players, you know, are like, wait, is he, you know, why are they taking a picture? Is he famous? Because I've always kept juniors and this podcast separate. So you approaching me was not a surprise. The why
yeah,
that
right.
had nothing to do with volleyball, that had to do with the nutrition mission. We're just going to keep using that till it sticks. Nutrition
Sure.
mission, nutrition mission, nutrition mission, nutrition mission, nutrition mission.
With the
right?
species appropriate diet.
Yes, with the species appropriate diet. So that day you were thanking me, and today thanking you. I'm thanking you. Here you are. You're on this podcast, and soon to be heavily edited podcast because I just want the important message to get out and not have people be deterred by whatever. Like just in this social and political climate alone, we can go an extra hour
Oh yeah.
on just what happened the last 10 days, right? Believe you me, but this is about quality of life and sanctity of life. Because usually those are conflicting forces, and we found a way for them to be kissing cousins. They're joined. They're married.
They are. Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. So Melissa Lynn might love you guys, but I don't love. No. You know what? Tomorrow's I love you guys too. You know what? I love you guys too. Normally I say I don't love any, but no, I love you guys. I love the heck out of you guys. It's been a fun birth fest. I still got a couple more days to go. Greg Faulkner's birthday's coming up. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPads, for all of you on your desktop, who runs the world? Old school, baby. Old school from Melissa Lim. I am Jason DeBellius. This is the Option Podcast. This is episode 210. We're out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.